Next we head on over to Germany, where we find the premium BV238 boat bomber. What the hell is this thing? It's got 6 engines. It's got 4 quad turrets, plus one turret on the top with two 20mm cannons. What the hell is this thing? And look at those bombs. It comes with 20 250 kilogram bombs. For a 5... Wow. You notice that new sound? That's interesting. It's got a 5-ton bomb load. And historically, this isn't even accurate. Gaijin actually had to nerf it because of balance concerns. It kind of reminds me of the Wellingtons and the all the British bombers. You know, most of those bombers have the BR that they have because of their payload. You know, their bombing capabilities, not because the plane is particularly durable or because the gunners are great. This is going to be an interesting thing. You know, I think Gaijin may have learned something by how they introduced the Soviet Tu-4. Yeah, look at these guns. These are all 13 mils, with the exception, of course, of the 220 mils. So you've got a lot of ammunition, a lot of rounds. This is a battle rating 3.0 bomber. I would be terrified to get on the tail of this thing. It doesn't have a turret on the bottom, of course, because it's a boat, so there's no point putting a turret down there. Some poor guy would just drown. So you want to come from underneath on this thing as best you can and shoot it in the wings, shoot the tip of the wing off, just like you would any other bomber. Yeah, getting back to that T4 debacle, I wonder if Gaijin has learned something about bombers and how they're going to introduce them relative with, you know, how do you balance the bombing capacity, the defensive armament, and the plane's natural ability to withstand damage. It's a difficult thing. People have been complaining about British bombers having too high of a BR for a long time. Still haven't addressed that. Tu-4 had amazing armament, great payload. I think the damage model of it sucks, just like the original, the B-29 damage model sucks. They end up having to increase the BR because of its defensive armament and because of its payload. You know, I don't fly bombers on the channel very often, but I'm curious to see how they balance bombers in the future, given how big of a debacle the Tu-4 has been. I still think the Tu-4 was completely unnecessary. But I could talk about this for several minutes. Let's get on to other stuff. Ah, yes, the next Gepard, the Flakpanzer Gepard, battle rating 8.0 SPAA. And my god, this thing can wreak havoc. This, unlike the previous SPA that we looked at, is definitely a threat to tanks. There are 4 different rounds you can use in your gun. This is using the most upgraded round, the 4th version. This has high velocity armor piercing with a maximum penetration value of 112 millimeters. That is devastating. Not only to the army, you know, the tanks, the ground forces. Just think about what this setup's going to do to a fleet of aircraft and RB tanks. They can shoot out nearly 550 rounds a minute. Get 2 35mm cannons. Look at the little radar. Doesn't look cute. Kind of distracting, to be honest with you. Watch how fast the gun's raising lower. That's pretty darn quick. You could really get on target pretty quickly. I think this is gonna be a lot of fun to use. Yeah, T-44 doesn't stand a chance. Gotta admit, I like the new fires that they have in 1.63. Not only did they update the kill cams, but new fires look great. I could shoot this thing all day long. It just melts these tanks. It's so much fun. But not as much fun as this guy. This is the Leopard A1 A1. Germany's new top-tier medium. Yes, you can actually improve on the Leopard. It's a great tank. It's a fast tank. But Germany decided to add a little bit extra armor. It stabilized the gun and added an extra machine gun. That's basically what you got with the A1A1. It's a little bit slower. You know, it's got a little bit extra weight because of the add-on armor around the turret. I can't say that the turret armor is going to add a lot of crew protection. It's still a relatively easy tank to kill, especially when the driver is overly aggressive and isn't holding himself down. The lower front plate on the Leopard tends to be the place I kill the most Leopards there. People just don't protect that lower front plate, and it's a pretty easy shot. The biggest thing on the Leopard, I think, is going to be the gun stabilization system. This will allow you to more accurately shoot while on the move. After all, the Leopard is kind of a fast-moving blitzkrieg type of tank. It's a medium, so you want to use its speed. You want to be able to fire on the run. And I suspect people are going to enjoy this newer version quite a bit over the previous one. Not that the old one was bad necessarily. The Leopard that's in the game is probably the best tank that's currently in 1.61. So if you add a little bit of extra armor, add a second machine gun, wow, and add some gun stabilization, I think you're going to have just an amazing little tank. Wow, that fire effect, that is amazing. Yeah, APDS that just goes right through these test vehicles. I wish we had a wider selection, and some tanks we could go head on without having to drive for 5 minutes and line up in front of one, you know? Oh well. Maybe one day we'll get a better test drive. Next up, we have the Raketenjagdpanzer 2 with the hot rockets, the hot missiles, whatever you want to call them. This is another ATGM, battle rating 8.0, and these things have some serious penetration, 800 millimeters. Yeah. Poor T95 didn't have a shot. I tried to get the ammo just a slight bit off. You may have noticed I had to adjust my hull, because if you try to shoot to the left or to the right too far, you just can't shoot. Unfortunately, it's very finicky. It doesn't have a whole lot of variation left or to the right, so you have to pretty much point your tank with wherever you want to shoot. If you're familiar with the previous Raketenjagdpanzer, this is pretty much the same thing. You know, more or less, it's just another point-and-click ATGM. Personally, I don't think these are all that interesting. There's virtually no skill in the use of these tanks, so I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the ATGMs that are in the game. The ones that are challenging, the ones where you have to actually use your WASD key to control the rockets, those I think are pretty cool. You know, add some challenge to it. To me, War Thunder is getting too easy. Yeah, look at this thing. Oh my god. Look at that gun elevation. This is not your traditional tank destroyer. This is a battle rating 3.7 Flak 37 88mm cannon. Yeah, this is a flak gun. This is anti-aircraft. But because it does have -3 gun depression, you can actually use this against tanks. And of course, being a 88mm gun, it's quite effective against tanks. But it is, after all, a flak gun meant for anti-aircraft. That's why you saw the ridiculous gun elevation, 85 degrees gun elevation. It's completely absurd. I'm actually looking forward to using this, or even just watching someone else use it as an anti-aircraft gun. You take it down a B-25 or a Wellington or what have you. Because with the lack of great armor on this thing, I don't see this being a particularly good tank destroyer. You know, it's got a great gun, don't get me wrong, but terrible armor mounted on this half track. The crew cab looks a little bit more armored than it actually is, I'm afraid.